Hello everyone, I hope you're well and welcome to the UK media launch of the Audi e-tron Sportback. Now I'm coming to you live today from Birch. It's a really cool hotel that's opened recently and it has a really big sustainability ethos, and we thought that fitted in really nicely with the car we're going to be showing you today. Now, in a few moments, I'm going to be introducing my colleague. His name is Chris Batty. He is the Audi UK commercial manager for the Audi e-tron range, and he will be giving you a full overview of this new model and everything about it. But before I do that, I'm just going to give you a bit of a brief insight into Audi's electric roadmap for the future and how this model sits within it. So the Sportback name then, well, we're all familiar with it, but also it's becoming ever more popular at Audi, and with very good reason. So it actually gives our designers more freedom to create elegant, timeless and visually arresting coupe-like designs with little to no impact on the actual practicality of the traditional body style that it sits alongside. Of course, we all know that SUVs are really popular worldwide in every market really, not just in the UK, and this shows no signs of slowing up whatsoever. So it's absolutely the right time for us to be launching this car you see here today. And of course, the other Sportbacks we have on the horizon. Now, talking of other Sportback models, one I should mention is the Q4 Sportback e-tron. Now, we've seen it this year in concept form, and it will be arriving as a production car next year, 2021. And it's important because it will actually be the entry point into the fully electric Audi EV range. It will, of course, be joined by the Q4 e-tron SUV, and a bit further down the line as well, the Audi e-tron GT. Now, we're particularly excited about that one because it represents the absolute pinnacle of the Audi range, and it has peak performance too. And a really interesting fact about this car is that it's actually produced on the same line as our R8 V10 supercar series over at Bollingerhofer near Nexholm. And that goes to show the sporting intent and credentials of this car. But back to the here and now, the e-tron itself has actually been a really big sales success. And in fact, for the first half of 2020, we sold just under 18,000 units. And this was an incredible increase of around 87% on compared to the previous year. So really exciting for us, this. And another point I should mention is that actually for the first half of 2022, the e-tron was the top selling electric SUV across Europe. Now, it's a similar story in the UK. We've actually seen the e-tron flying since it was first introduced in 2019. And I'm really excited to be able to tell you today that we have also already exceeded our order take target for the whole of 2020 as I'm standing here today talking to you. So really exciting news for us. Now, moving on to the future, Audi's ambition for its electric series is that by 2025, there will be more than 20 fully electric models available in key markets, including, of course, in the UK. And roughly 40% of the overall sales mix globally will be electrified. So it's a big target, of course, but it's one that we're confident that we can achieve, especially given the interest and enthusiasm we've already seen with our electric models, and of course, not forgetting our plug-in hybrid models too. It's probably about time I hand over to Chris, who will be able to give you the proper lowdown on this car. So, Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Alex, and morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be able to take you through a few more of the details of the new Audi e-tron Sportback today. I'm going to take my iPad with me because there's so much to talk about. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So if you come with me towards the car, we'll have a closer look at the exterior design of the car. Now, the e-tron Sportback essentially is almost identical in size and proportions to the e-tron SUV. Obviously, the main key difference is the coupe-like profile that the car has. So essentially, the roofline remains flat across most of the body of the car, but then it drops steeply away in that coupe profile and finishes here at the rear of this rear boot lid spoiler, another key feature that differentiates it versus the e-tron SUV model. Now, as well as the eye-catching design of a coupe, the other benefit is obviously aerodynamics. So the drag coefficient of this car is just 0.25. That's even better than the standard e-tron SUV. Aerodynamics obviously is very key for electric vehicles. But what else stands this car apart as an electric vehicle for Audi? So if we come to the front here, we can see that it has a partially enclosed front grille, which is obviously different to most of the combustion engine vehicles that offer, which have the open grille. This can control the amount of air intake when required for help with aerodynamics. Also here you can see the e-tron light design. So these horizontal bars, these essentially represent a battery on charge. And this design feature actually continues through various elements of the car, including on the wheel design here and also in the rear light cluster at the rear of the car. Moving to the side of the vehicle, this black side sill insert here not only adds more presence to the car, but also indicates where the battery, the high voltage battery, is located in the floor of the car, obviously helping with a low centre of gravity and giving it that almost 50-50 weight distribution. And at the rear of the car, a unique diffuser obviously doesn't have any tailpipes as well. And just in case you're in any doubt if this is an electric e-tron vehicle, we also have e-tron badging at the front, on the side charging ports here, and also at the rear of the car as well. Now, one feature I'm particularly proud to talk to you about today is the Audi digital matrix headlights. Now, these are a world first on a production vehicle. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the tech detail. You've got some of that in your press pack. I'm just going to run through just some of the kind of key highlights of these headlights. Essentially, tiny pixels project in high resolution the beam out in front of the car. It's made up of a tiny microchip that contains over 1 million micro mirrors, and these micro mirrors can either reflect the light onto the road or can actually mask the light in order to not dazzle oncoming drivers, for example, when the high beam is on. It also includes really clever and cool animations when you turn the car on and off. So essentially the driver can actually choose between various designs via the MMI in the car, and these logos or designs can be projected on either the road in front of the car or on the wall when you lock or unlock the car, start and stop. Other really clever features include a lane light. Essentially this projects a beam of carpet of light in the lane in front. Really useful, for example, on motorways to kind of improve the visibility in your lane. And also there's an orientation light where essentially areas of light are masked to help position and show where the position of the car is in the lane. So it's really particularly useful, say, in narrow areas of roadworks to make sure that your car is in the centre of the lane. So really, really clever stuff. I also want to talk about the exterior virtual mirrors as well. Now these debuted on the e-tron SUV model. Essentially this is where cameras replace your traditional door mirrors and project images onto OLED screens inside the door panels inside the car. And not only do they offer a really nice kind of looking design feature, but they also have benefits to the driver as well. So they help with the aerodynamics, which is obviously really key. And also they help improve visibility in low light conditions as well. And talking of clever aerodynamic solutions, some of the features you can't actually see are less visible. So behind the front grille, we have a partially variable air intake that can open and close to allow air in to cool the brakes and battery when required. Otherwise, the rest of the time it remains shut to help with aerodynamics. We also have the adaptive air suspension. So the car essentially can raise or lower by varying degrees up to 76 millimeters. So for example, at motorway speeds, the car lowers by up to 26 millimeters. So obviously keeping the car closer to the ground helps with the aerodynamics. Even the underfloor of the car is completely smooth, and these screws that attach the plate to the bottom of the car actually have grooves in just like a golf ball. So again, all about enhancing the aerodynamics of the vehicle itself. We also, as with the e-tron SUV, we have charging sockets on both sides of the vehicle on the e-tron Sportback. So on the driver's side, we have the AC and the DC charging ports, and on the passenger side, we have the AC charging port. And they're operated really simply by a press of the button, both to open and to close itself as well. Now I'm going to talk a bit more now about some of the technical highlights of the car. So in the UK, we launched with the larger 55 model, which has a 95 kilowatt hour battery. This allows a range on a single charger up to 241 miles under WLTP test conditions. Now it has two motors, one on the front axle, one on the rear. They both combine together to a total output of 408 PS. It's available when in boost mode. That is available for up to 8 seconds, when essentially you're in dynamic and S mode. Now in this boost mode, 0 to 62 time is just 5.7 seconds. Now considering this is a 2.5 ton vehicle, that's a pretty impressive stat. But actually what's really impressive most of all, and particularly on electric vehicles, is that instant acceleration that you get off the line, and there's no different on the e-tron Sportback. That's because the torque is available at any point to you. Now, later in the year, we'll be launching a smaller battery e-tron 50 model, and also we'll see our first all-electric S models that will debut as well, both in the Sportback guys and on the e-tron SUV. Now, these have 973 Newton meters of torque. So just think about that for a second, 973 Newton meters. That's more than any other Audi in the range. That's almost hypercar levels of torque. So we're really, really excited to get our hands on that one when they arrive. Now, in terms of charging, the e-tron SUV was the first car to market that could charge up to 150 kilowatts at rapid DC charging stations. And the e-tron Sportback is no different. This means a charge time from 5 to 80% in around 30 minutes, which is just a coffee break. And a full charge even takes less than an hour. At widely available 11 kilowatt public charging stations, this car will charge fully charge in around 10 hours. And it can also be charged overnight at home wall boxes as well. Currently in the UK, as a special launch offer, customers can benefit from a free home wall box for that added convenience and part of the package. Now, it features a clever recuperation system on the car that can account for up to 30% of the range. The car itself will decide, depending on the driving condition, whether to use the electric motors to slow the vehicle down and recuperate, store energy into the battery, or whether to use the wheel brake itself. Now, the wheel brake actually is only used when the driver applies more than 0.3 G of pressure. And actually the transition between using the electric motors and the wheel brake is so seamless that I guarantee that you will never notice. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to take a little walk around and we're going to have a look inside the car as well. So as you can see, it's a nice place to spend time. It features all of the Audi touches and materials that you'd come to expect, and the latest technology as well, such as the virtual cockpit that can have customizable displays, and these two central OLED screens here that are operated by touch and have haptic feedback. These control everything from your seat heating to your navigation. And in the navigation, it also includes charging points. So if you set your destination and you don't have enough range to get there, the car will not only tell you where it recommends to stop and charge, but for how long you need to charge for, and what your estimated range will be when you get to your destination. All clever stuff. The car itself, obviously having no centre tunnel, the centre console sits on open sidewalls, gives that floating effect, and obviously with no gears, there's no traditional gear stick, so you just change gears with your thumb and forefinger, just pushing the rocker back and forward itself. Comfortably seats 5 adults, and because of the clever design, the rear headroom is very little compromise over the standard SUV model itself. Obviously the rear middle passenger has the benefit of extra legroom because of the lack of a centre tunnel. Falcona leather sport seats come standard. There's a range of seating options available, as there is in terms of materials for inlays for further personalisation itself. In terms of storage space, there's a 615 litre of space, combination of the boot and the storage area in the front. Now in the UK, we have 3 trims available to order. So the base S-Line trim starts at 79,900 on the road. This features an S-Line exterior styling pack, 21-inch alloy wheels, matrix LED headlights on the outside. On the inside, you get your Falcona leather sport seats, multifunction steering wheel and your MMI navigation. It also features some of the assistance systems that you'd expect on an Audi to kick in when required. On top of the baseline spec, we have then the Launch Edition that starts at 85,900. This adds even more visual presence on the road with a black styling pack, a panoramic sunroof, and the Audi virtual mirrors as well. On the inside, you get full leather sport seats, and you also get some of the assistance systems such as a 360 camera and cruise assist. And then there's the all singing, all dancing Vorsprung trim. Now this sits on 22-inch alloy wheels, as well as having all of the assistance systems available, including those world-first digital matrix headlights. So this ensures this car really does have road presence. Now, as well as the 3 trims that are available to order, the first 30 customer cars off the production line were in Edition 1 form. Now these have exclusive plasma blue exterior paint, Monaco grey super sport seats on the inside, and a unique 21-inch alloy wheel design to ensure that these are exclusive in their looks as they are in their rarity. The car itself opened for ordering earlier in the year, and the first launch cars are now arriving at centres for customers to test drive. So I hope that's whetted your appetite and you're as excited about the car as we are, and you look forward to driving it away.
It's probably a good point to mention that we actually expect the e-tron Sportback to account for around 33% of the overall sales mix in the UK. And more interestingly, the fleet retail mix, we're actually expecting the fleet market to account for around 85% of the mix as well. Now, what that really proves is that the e-tron and electric cars aren't just on the periphery anymore. And the drivers that will be getting into these cars are actually going to be really confident in using them for long journeys and big driving routes. And it's really interesting and telling of what's to come, really. You will, of course, be receiving a press pack as well a bit later on that has the right-hand drive photography, the videos, technical data, comparative data as well, everything you need, basically. But of course, if you've got any other questions, then please do feel free to get in touch. You know where we are. So thanks very much for watching us, and hope you enjoyed it. And thank you, Chris, as well. Take care, guys.
Everyone.